Hello and welcome to the Migration Mapper demo series. My name is Jerod Merkle and I am an assistant professor at the University of Wyoming and a research associate with the Wyoming Migration Initiative. This video, I'm going to show you a bit about App 3 or Module 3. We've already gone through Module 1 and 2 and we've identified these kind of specific seasons. And I have 3 seasons that I worked with, 3 slider or 3 seasons that I put together, and I have migration spring, summer core, and migration fall. And so let me just orient you a little bit to this third module. So again, we can go reload an existing project folder if we need to. You wouldn't want to do this unless you kind of opened it and it will ask you, should you reload a different project or a new project or an existing project. We can also jump back to module 2 if we want and fiddle with things there, or even jump back to module 1 if we want. And then there's the close app button on the right hand side. The first question that it asks you here is when you're exporting, do you want to export shapefiles so you can load these things into ArcGIS or anything similar, or do you not want to export shapefiles? The automatic is to export shapefiles. If you don't export the shapefiles, what you'll get often is just the R native file format. And you could, if you're using R for everything, you could just use those. So it's an R data format when it exports these sequences as a spatial point data set. And so if you want to use the shapefiles as well, it's a yes, export shapefiles as well. So on the left-hand side, is basically asking you, do you want to just export the seasons based on the sliders that you did in App 2 only? And so it will literally go through and develop a database of just the snippets of data that you selected between those sliders. And there will be one for migration spring, one for summer core, and one for migration fall. And inside that file will have different periods of time that you move those sliders for each ID year. Alternatively, you can create some custom seasonal sequences over here, and I'll go into that in a second. So the first thing is if we just click export define seasons, this will take just a moment, and we can go into our map project. And what we can see here is that we got a success, done calculating sequences for your season. This included 16 sequences from 8 different individuals. See your folder to do more. And so, basically what we did here is it created a sequences folder. And inside that, we have our 3 seasons. And inside that is that raw, that native R file. So inside that RDS file is actually a SF, simple features file that has the points for migration fall from the sliders that you did. And you also have shape files all just dumped together. And so we have the migration lines for fall, migration points for fall, migration lines for spring, et cetera, summer core. And so you could open those right in ArcGIS if you want. Okay, so that's how you just pull out the sequences that you did. And let's now work on export custom seasonal sequences. So what we did in the sliders provides some information, but potentially we want to do some other things. For instance, I did not identify a winter range period. And so potentially we would like to identify some data that's also considered a winter range. So the first question that it's going to ask you is, do you want to identify these custom seasons by forcing it to be between some of the dates that you selected in App 2? Or do you want to define some custom start and end dates for a season? Like, for instance, if you were going to do winter range and you wanted to just do December 1st through February 28th, you would want to click this second one and you can get all the data between those 2 specific dates. But if you wanted to define winter as the end of fall migration until the start of spring migration, you would want to use this force season between 2, and we'll do that here. So I said force between, we're going to enter a name for this. So let's call this winter. And let's call it winter, well, winter with MIG dates. So it's going to be a winter using migration dates. And so what you can do here is say, when does the start of this winter season begin? And what we want to do is the end of fall. And when does that season end? And this will be migration spring start. And so it's going to grab data between those two sliders in your situation. So the other thing is, for the animals that don't have a slider in, let's say they were collared, you did a fall migration and then they were collared throughout the entire winter, but then the animal died at the end of winter. If you want to add that data into the sequences, you have to say, yes, create sequences using estimated dates. If you don't want to add those kind of extra information, you will be greatly reduced. So I can click this button, and then it's going to ask me what method do we want to use. And we can say either the mean of the migration fall end or the migration spring start, or it could be the quantile of those values too. So if we just did the mean and the mean, what's going to happen is for those animals that don't have a slider to actually delineate the end of fall or the start of spring, it will identify the end of fall or start of spring or the start of the winter period, this winter with migration dates, using the mean value of all the other animals in your data set. Same with the end of the sequence. So if we click calculate sequences, now we're going to, that's going to be done. It says there's 16 sequences from 9 individuals, so there's a bit more in there. And now if we go into our map project, we go into sequences, now we have a winter with mig dates folder, and it has that RDS file. And then the same with sequence shape files. Now we have winter migration dates, lines, and points. So now we can go back here. Now let's do it that other way. So define a custom start and end date. So let's do winter defined dates. Let's call this one winter defined dates. And if we want to choose a start date for that season, what we really want is we want to go to December, and let's do 1st, and then we'll end it February 28th. And so this is going to grab all the winter dates between these two periods and call that a sequence. So you run that. Now we have 18 sequences from 9 animals, so we even have more data for this one. And again, inside here, we'll have winter with defined dates. So those are some of the unique things that you can do in this app 3 to create custom seasons from your data. You can also do things like, I want a spring and a summer season. So you could start it at the start of spring, end it at the end of the summer core period. There's lots of options that you can do with these custom sequences that allow you to create seasons that are important to your work. Okay, that's it for app 3. I'll be clicking to jump to another module, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks a lot.